Hi, you guys. Welcome to another episode of I Really Love Myself with me, your host, Gianna Rackham. I've been doing relationship coaching for over 10 years now, which is kind of crazy, but amazing. And if you're new here, if you're not, you know the drill, but I have a really great guest here today that I'm very excited to share with you guys. I'm gonna share a little bit about her and then we're going to dive in. Um, so I have Marni here. And Marni is the founder of the Wing Girl Method. She is the host of the Ask Women podcast, an award-winning female dating coach for men at every stage of dating and relationships, ages 25 to 90. I'm so curious about the 90-year-olds who
Hmm.
spent the last decade helping hundreds of thousands of men stop being Mr. Nice Guy and become Mr. Holy Shit, I Want Him. With more than 1.4 million subscribers to her YouTube channel, Marni, your personal wing girl, is upheld for her blunt, no fluff approach, which we're here for, and honest insider tips, tools, advice on what women really want versus what they say they want. She is considered the number one female in the space of delivering solid attraction, dating, and relationship advice to men around the world. What a bio. Um, and I will say, like, I have seen your work on YouTube and I'm like, damn, like that's so true. And because it's
Oh,
like,
thank you.
yeah, because I mean, there's definitely things that women say that they want versus what actually women respond to, I feel
Right.
like. Um,
Right. Well,
and
people in general do that, right? You have your ideals of what you think you want, and then what the reality is of what you're actually attracted to, what you'll take in, what you like, it doesn't always look the same way that you envisioned it on the front end.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I know for me personally, something that I used to think that I wanted was a man who was like very compassionate and like empathetic to my emotions and could just be like really emotional with me. And
Mhm.
I like had a long-term
Poo-pooed it.
relationship.
You're like, no, that's disgusting. Can you please get a
I
penis
mean,
and be
yeah,
a man? I get it. Yeah.
100%. And like, the relationship that I'm in now, like he's a lot more dominant,
Yeah.
and like direct. And I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
but
yeah,
you still need that compassionate side. It's interesting. I mean,
100%.
we expect and demand a lot because we expect and demand a lot from ourselves, and that's what we
100%.
think we're giving to others.
Mhm.
So we do. We want the full package. So we want the man who can be a man, right? Who can
Mhm.
be assertive, maybe not control us, but be assertive, have
Mhm.
opinions, take charge when needed, feel like we're safe and we're special and we're sexy and selected. But it's not to take away from your first desire of I want a man who's compassionate because
Mhm.
understanding and validating your emotions is key. And if you go for a very long time with just the assertiveness and no respect and validation for your emotions, then your attraction towards that person will slowly start to fade. So you still want a sprinkle of that, but you do need the other side in order for that sprinkle to be super attractive.
Uh, so well said. And something that I will say, with a lot of the women that I work with, oftentimes it's like they have experienced like some like abuse in their past, right?
Yeah.
Like if you think of, and I'm not here to diagnose anybody, but if you think of like the classic like narcissist codependent dynamic, like the narcissistic controlling man and the woman who is really empathetic, and ends up in this like kind of toxic cycle. And then on the other side of relationships like that, or with men who are more avoidant, um, I find women go from like one extreme to the other, where it's like they want someone who's like super emotional, but then it's
Yeah.
like they have the safety, but they don't have the attraction
The
because,
attraction.
yep.
Yeah. But and then you just have to decide what you like the best. It's so funny because I mean, I've been with my husband now for 21 years.
Wow.
And I know, freaking long time. But I went home this summer. I'm from Toronto originally, live in Los Angeles. And I brought my children back with me. We go home every summer. But this summer we stayed for 2 months because my kids went to overnight camp. Anyway, that's not
Wow.
part of the story. The part of the story is that I lived in my parents' home for 2 months.
Hmm.
And I dove more into my dynamic with my father and
Mhm.
really getting a clear understanding of where my frustrations lie. And it's interesting because that the dynamic of lack of emotional understanding, frustration from the lack of emotional understanding, even though he's the sweetest man in the entire world, would bend over backwards for me, I still could not respect and fully love this man because he couldn't validate my feelings. And I chose a man who did the same thing to me, but who is open to learning how to be better, even though it's a slower process, right? It still
Yeah.
doesn't come naturally to him. He's not this ooey gooey, compassionate man, but he is a really good man that wants to understand more, which I, like for me, I think is a win. It's a frustrating win, but it is a win, and it means that we're going to work together so that both of us get each other's needs met. But like what you were saying before, I think I I don't even think it's like people's diagnoses, whatever the word is. I think it's what you're familiar with that you're drawn to, and then you decide whether or not it's something that you want to continue being content with. And that
Hmm.
that has to do with the amount of work that you do on yourself, whether or not you want to repeat those patterns or if you want to alter those patterns.
Yeah, 100%. And like, I think that that's something that a lot of women would love to experience, where it's like because like there's so much psychology to back it up, but it's like where you are drawn to familiar dynamics from childhood and things that were
Yeah.
modeled and all of that. And like when you can find someone who embodies those characteristics that are familiar, that are also positive, that you liked, but it's also capable and willing to grow with you and like fully
Yeah.
meet you, like and meet your needs, that's like,
Yeah. And the thing is, nobody's ever going to fully be able to meet your needs because your needs shift at all times. But
mm-hmm,
what listen, I'm only 21 years in. I can't imagine what it will be at 50, but like it's just somebody who wants to continue to grow with you. And sometimes people do not. People are like, I'm really happy with how I am. And then you have a larger conversation to have. But yeah, it's I don't think it's about getting everybody's needs met. It's
yeah,
about getting most of those needs met and then finding other spaces and places to potentially get those needs met. Like you cannot get everything from one other individual. Some people
100%.
do, but most people do not, and that's a lot for women to put onto men. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if men really put it onto women the same way, but I know that many women put that onto men.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is very true. And like, I think it's like, your family relationships, your relationship with your kids, if you have them, friendships, like your community, your purpose, your career, like those should also be nourishing you. And I think that that
Yeah.
helps a lot because it's like when you put all the pressure to get for your partner to like meet every need, it is a lot to ask. And it
Yeah.
does,
Yeah.
create like resentment and all the things. So I think that's
Yeah.
so like dead on.
100%. You have to be a big girl and you got to pull your pants up and you got to go, figure out what need is most important for you to have met by your husband. It could be two or three, but like
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And listen,
Yeah.
I'm speaking to myself when I make that statement because I am still a woman and I still go into that place of, but he should be doing more. Like it's just it. I had this conversation with a few of my girlfriends the other day because we're all in the stage of we're mothers, we have kids who are 8 and up, so we're not in the baby phase anymore. And we were talking about, how what seems to happen for many of my female friends and many women that I talk to is that when you do have kids in your life, you have this plate full of things that need to be done. But
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, that plate gets owned by the woman in the relationship. And the man believes that he has to take things off of the plate versus we both have a shared plate together. But my point was that what what is it that we're doing as women that have it be understood that it's our plate? Because it's we all do it. I don't. No man goes, this is your plate, like take it.
Mm-hmm.
It is us also just taking this plate. And maybe in some dynamics, I live in California, so we're maybe a little bit more progressive over here, or like
Yep.
we share the responsibilities a little bit more. I don't know. But like there is something that is happening that we women are doing and the men are accepting, right? And
Mm-hmm.
therefore it like it's sort of it's unfair, kind of what I was saying before, to expect everybody to meet your needs. Like
Yeah.
my husband would take anything off of that plate. If I gave him 90% of the things on the plate, he would take it. But
Mm-hmm.
I still get upset that he doesn't see that plate as his as well. And I
Yeah.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
weird thing, and it's something I'm exploring too. Like, why does this happen? How do you avoid that happening? I do not know the answer to that right now, other than the man taking ownership of that plate. But men don't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
Men are single focused. Men are like, you got this, I got that.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's I got the making the money, you got the watching the baby and making the money too. Like if whatever it is, they are like they are trying to make things work and make it as simple as possible. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes as women, we do take too much on. And I want to take ownership of that because I bite myself in the butt. It's
Yeah.
not it's not him, it's us together, but it's mainly me and I want to understand like why do we do this? And I don't know. I don't know the answer to it.
No, I love this conversation because this is something I've explored a lot. Because there's a statistic and I can't remember like what it's from, but it's a statistic that says that's very common where a woman's life expectancy goes down when she
Oh
gets
yeah,
married and
this
has
must be
kids.
on Instagram recently. Because
Yep.
okay, that's funny. Because Jesse, who works with me, he showed me that a year ago about the statistic. What's the one thing that a man can do to make him live longer, make more
Get
money, and be
married.
happier? Get married. And what's the one thing that like literally sucks the life out of a woman? Getting married.
Yep.
It is going around on Instagram now because three other people have showed that to me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it?
I mean,
I do not understand. But it's us. We do this to ourselves.
this is like one of my soapboxes. So like don't get me started, but like, because that's something that I'm really passionate about because like, something I've shared a lot about. Like I grew up in a home with like domestic violence and like just really watched my mom like come into like become a shell of herself. And there was, so much that went into that. And I think that for women, and just like a lot of the women that I've worked with over the years, it's so much a where we overexert ourselves, we overextend ourselves emotionally, and like we don't have boundaries, and we like to be in control, and we don't ask for what we want and what we need, and we don't leave room. And part of it, I think, is really like instinctual. Like when we have kids and when we're mothers, it's like it's that nurturing, like biological instinct where it's like I'll pick up the baby, like I'll jump in, I'll
I'll do
step
it. I'll
in.
take it.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And it's like it really adds up and and it wears on you like
It does,
for
but we do it
years.
to ourselves. It's in,
Yeah,
so
100%.
there's a competitive portion to it. There is a challenge portion to it. There's a obligation part to it. There's a
Hmm.
I like being this person. There's a control
Hmm.
portion to it. It's all really interesting. But
It really is.
I've said this to my husband, and this is something that we haven't mastered yet. I said this from the day my first child was born.
Hmm.
I got all the stuff. I have all the stuff. You just get me.
Hmm.
Which means take care of me emotionally. When I crumble, don't yell at me, don't get frustrated, give me a hug.
Hmm.
Maybe spin me around the room. But it's been my request from the very beginning,
Yeah.
and it still hasn't been mastered. My son's 11. So I'm just saying, we are slowly starting to work on it for sure. And it doesn't mean I'm not requesting for things to get taken off of my plate at all. For sure. Sometimes, yeah, take them off my plate without me asking because it's hard for me to give it to you
Hmm.
without feeling like some sort of failure, right? So there it is, take it without asking, what can I take? Because then that's another task for me to do. I have to figure out what you can take on versus you just taking the responsibility. But
Yeah.
what I know I need as a woman, and this may be different from many other women, I have not explored this yet. I really just need him to be emotionally there for me and to allow me to be a bit bitchy,
Hmm.
allow me to cry, allow me to not make sense, and allow me to act a little bit crazy sometimes, and
Yeah.
love me even when.
Hmm.
That is a very hard thing for somebody to do. I get I'm asked that is asking a lot, but
Hmm.
what that looks like for me is a hug, rubbing my feet, and making me laugh when I'm feeling all frazzled. That's what it looks like in practice
Hmm.
for me. And that's it's still a hard task to do because we're scary. I'm a very scary person.
Women can
When
be hurricanes.
yes, exactly. So I know that's all scary, but I saw this video on Instagram the other day and I sent it to my husband. Actually, I'm going to pull it up for you because I thought it
Okay.
was really cute. But it's this woman who she's cooking dinner and something gets burnt. And then she gets sort of frazzled. And then she starts crying, and her son is watching her. I want to see. Wait, when did I actually send this to my husband? Okay. So
Okay.
And the son's like, oh God, what do I do right now? How do we calm her down? Like most men, they're like, how do we calm down this lunatic?
Yeah. Yeah, men get like absolutely frightened of women. Aw.
And then he just does that. I mean, it's a little cheesy, a little
Yeah.
bit much, but a portion of that would be lovely. And then
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
he just takes her out of it and just says like, it's not a big deal. Instead of looking at her and going, it's not a big deal, which is like, oh, I'm going to punch you in the penis so you never have another child again.
Yep.
This is like, it's not a big deal. Let's just enjoy it. Like I'm going to pull you out of this.
Yeah,
And
like
I
that
just thought,
masculine frame.
yeah, I just thought that was amazing. And I'm not a man, so I don't know how challenging that is to do in
Yeah.
the moment, but I know how to coach men how to be more comfortable with doing that in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's is part of the work that I do is helping men get to that space where they can be in frame for just themselves, not buy into her emotions and get attached to her emotions, and then just stand there and be there for the woman in their lives. And when men can do that, they get less craziness, less bitchiness, less tension, more sex, and they have a happier marriage or a happier relationship.
I mean, that's so true because it's like I feel like that makes a woman feel just really safe in her emotions and like she can be herself and it's like he's not going to run away, he's not going to try and like make her wrong for it, and that makes her feel like safety and respect and attraction. And I would
Mhm.
love to know because something that I've seen a lot over the years is that is a struggle for men. You know, there are men who get like what I like to call like emasculated and
What you
when
like to call emasculated? Okay.
that's just
You
my
mean like the
go-to
real
word.
term of being emasculated? Yeah.
It's
Okay.
emasculated, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like men can get really passive and like
Yeah.
fearful and like people pleasy with women, where it's like they either do one of three things, in my opinion. One, it's like they shut down, they withdraw, they're like, oh, I'm scared, I'm running away, I'm gonna go lock myself in my man cave or whatever. Or two, it's like they just go into like people pleasing, appeasing mode.
Mhm.
Or three, and these are all like not the good things to do in my opinion. They get domineering and controlling, right? And so I love what you spoke to because I think that that's the best way to handle a woman essentially. But for a man that struggles with being able to hold that masculine frame, like what do you think is the best thing that he could do to start to kind of get better at that?
It's practice. And the practice is in the very beginning when you see a woman doing behavior that you recognize will become the behavior that you don't like. So if she starts complaining about a lot of things or she has a higher pitch voice or if she's like moving around frantically, right?
Mhm.
And can't really sit still during that part of the process before the blow up, you have to get into a good mindset and a calm mindset where you're continuously saying to yourself in your head, this is not about me. This is not about me. This is not about me. That's the first step, right?
Mhm.
First, you can't buy into her emotions, right?
Yeah.
You can't latch onto her emotions and be like, why the hell is she doing this again? What the hell? She's gonna blow up at me. Whatever it is that usually is the what's the right word for it? Is the impetus before the trigger, I think, or like whatever is triggering you, right? It's about shaking off that trigger and going into that place where you start to defend or attack her, whatever it is that you do in your brain that would have you reacting in those three ways, and
Mhm.
replace it with this is not about me, this is not about me, this is not about me. Once you can get your brain to that calm space so that you don't become enraged or you don't become scared or you don't become completely backed off from her, then you can put into your brain, let's be there for her. Let's be there for her.
Mhm.
Let's be there for her. It's hard. It's all a practice. It is.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't happen overnight. And listen, my husband can do it like 7 out of 10 times. And he's really good now at he's working on it. He's good at standing there and just saying, that must be really hard. Like, and it's the same sentence every single time. But before he used to say things, you're acting irrational, you're lying, and then it's like my like claws come out when that happens,
Mhm.
right? And that's not helpful for anybody because it just escalates everything. So
Exactly.
now he's at like let's say stage 3 where he can be calm and he can actually verbalize and say to me, maybe even like touch me on the shoulder. Because he's still in that like scared state because he's the shutdown or he's the explosive guy. So he's
Yeah.
1 or 3 that you listed
Mhm.
before. But he can get to the place where he says, that must be really hard. I
Yeah.
hear what you're saying. Right. And we're working on the rest. And I listen, this is not to say that I don't have to do the same thing for him
Mhm.
because we are human and we mess up sometimes. I'm not expecting him to be there for me every single time. But
Yeah.
if he can be there for me 7 out of 10 times, 8 out of 10 times, then everything else gets to calm in the
Yeah.
house and there's more love and attraction there.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I know you speak to a lot of women, so this is not for the men that are listening to say like you have to do everything. You have to let us be psychopaths and treat you like crap and walk all over you and
Mhm.
not say a thing. I'm not saying that at all. This is how you can be there for her so that those things don't happen. And on the flip side, what I'm saying to women is like you got to do this for them too because
Mhm.
they're going to have human moments where work is too much for them. Their kids are too much for them, or their friends are too much. Whatever it is that's bogging, they're exhausted. Whatever it is that's bogging them down because they have responsibilities and obligations as well. And that same stress that you feel, they feel too.
Mhm.
And you need to zip your lip and remember in your mind, this is not about me. This is not about me. It's not about me. What can I do for him? What can I do for him? And you have to find out from him what he needs. And my husband needs me to get the hell away. That's what he needs. And just like shut up and leave him alone and not trying to find a solution. And that is really hard for me, but I'm working on it. Like the other
Mhm.
day, he came into our playroom and was lying on the couch, and I started talking to him about things. And he said, "I just need 10 minutes to myself, please, because I have no energy right now and I'm on the brink of becoming really angry." And
Mhm.
that hurt me for a second. That's my thing. That's my issue. It hurt me. It pained me, even though I know what he was saying was like so real and logical. And we've worked so hard for him to even say that sentence to me. It still
Mhm.
pinged me in some way. And I sat there for 30 seconds staring off, like paralyzed.
Yeah.
And then I got up and I left. And that was hard for me because in the past I would have gotten upset. I'm just
Mhm.
saying we're both working on it
Yeah.
on both of our sides because you have to. It,
Yeah. I mean, I think I love like the nuance and just the authentic, like real shit that you're speaking to, because I think so many people can relate to that, like in their
yeah,
relationships where it's like you do kind of have to get to know like what are your triggers and like what shuts you down, what like has you freaking out, like and what does the same thing for your partner. And like it really is a love language to be able to both choose to understand those things about yourself and the other and your partner and like be and like have tools and processes to,
yeah.
support yourself and each other in it. So I love that a lot
Oh,
actually.
thank you. But
Um,
I think that people like you have to learn these things at an earlier stage, right?
yeah.
And we don't have the coaching to do that. So with my son the other day, he's at a new school. He's in sixth grade, middle school now.
Hmm.
So this year is a big change for him. And before he used to stay in aftercare, and then he'd come home and we'd have all these activities. And I was in the car with him driving to school, and I said, "Hey, bud, um, communication and working together as a team is really important to our family. So I'd like you to think about something today. I would like you to think about what you need when you come home so that you can recharge, relax, feel whatever. I forget even what I said, but it was like really like what I want you to think through what you need. Because at first, when I asked, he said, I don't know. Right. So I said, I want you to think through what you need. Because if you can tell me and you communicate it to me, because I'm not going to know on my own what you need. I'm going to get you out the door because I like to be busy. So I'm going to make you move out the door as soon as you're done with school. But if you don't need that, you have to tell me what you need. And then I
Hmm.
can give it to you. And then there are obligations that we do have after that, but I want to give you what you need. And
Yeah.
so when he came home on the drive home, I was like, did you think about it? And he said, yeah. He said, I need half an hour of chill time. I said, great. Half an hour of chill time is what you'll get every single day. And then you got to do shit after. but you'll get that. I will give you what you need. I will not bother you. Like, but that's also, it's something that we need to do in every relationship that we
Yeah.
have. What do you need that's different from me? And I can try to give that to you, but there's compromise because we are a team. Sometimes you may not get it, but I will give it to you most days.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's amazing because it's like so much of how we like what we learn about relationships and how to handle relationships is childhood. Like
Yeah.
what we see, what our parents teach us. And so like the fact that you're like, rippling that out with like into your kids is fucking awesome. You
Yeah,
know?
I
Uh,
know. I thank you. I was like, that is really good because I mean, my parents didn't know to do that.
yeah.
My mom talked to me about a lot of stuff, but there are things that they didn't know to do.
Hmm.
So like, but to be honest, I'm doing that for my own sanity because
Yeah.
I've realized that it has bit me in the butt in other areas and other relationships.
Hmm.
I'm selfishly doing that for myself. If it happens to be a good side effect for my child, great. But
Yeah.
I think, and also think it's good for him to understand that like people can't read your mind.
Yeah, 100%. Amen. I mean, so I have like two areas that I'm very curious about. Like
Yeah.
one, I'm very curious about because I mean, like your personal life because you've shared that you've been with your husband for a long time and I've heard from just like clips like you on like Dustin's podcast and just like things your content online like you so it sounds like you do like more long distance coaching virtual coaching now but previously in the early days you were like meeting up with men in person and like and like
Yeah, we went out with them and we picked up women for them and then we flirted with women and pulled them over and had them start conversations.
oh
Yeah.
my God, that's so awesome. That's like
It
so
was
fun.
so fun. It was
Yeah.
so fun. Yeah.
So how did that I'm very curious to know like when you started dating your husband and how like he integrated with all of that and like did
We
you ever
started
find
all at the
yourself
same time. It was funny because
really? Okay.
I started dating my husband and then 3 weeks later he went away for a weekend with his friends and he came back and I was like, I started a business. And he's like, oh, well, what are you doing now? And I was like, well, I take men out and I help pick up women for them. I'm a wing girl for them. And he's like, so you're an escort. I was like, no, I'm not an escort. And I had the same thing when I said it to my parents. They're like, great, we send you to LA to become like a prostitute. Like I was like, no, that is not what it is. And then I'm a hustler.
Mhm.
So I was quickly in the media for what I was it didn't exist at that time. Like now
Yeah.
there's like everybody and their grandmother happens to be doing what I'm doing in some
Yeah.
version. So but at that time it didn't exist. So it was easy for media to bite onto this.
Yeah.
And in the first 2 weeks of starting my company, I was on like 4 radio shows. I was on hold
Wow.
for the Tonight Show, like to do all these things. Anyway, so when I would start doing all of these interviews and my husband would listen to me explain about what I was doing, he's like, "Oh, okay. You're not an escort." Like but he was very wary in the beginning because I was getting my clients off of Craigslist in the first
Hmm.
couple of months, actually. I was still posting on there. He's like, who are these men that you're meeting that are handing you cash under the table and you're going out with them and meeting them? And like, he was very nervous about letting me
Yeah.
go out. But the more that my method shifted, the more that my interaction shifted, it became more professional, the
Yeah.
more at ease he felt with it. And then he was like my biggest promoter ever. He would tell everybody about what I was doing and he would get mad at people who misunderstood what I was doing. Because in the very beginning, when I said what I did, there were two groups of people. There were the group that was like, that's freaking awesome. That's amazing. That's so cool. And the other group that was like, oh, okay. Well,
I get the
that's
same thing.
it was, yeah, it was like but you're like a relationship coach. Like, but they're like, it's a seedy thing. I was like, seedy. And then I was like, what's going on in your relationship? Like, that makes me want to dig deeper. And
Hmm.
then there were some men who were like, oh, what kind of losers do you work with? I'm like, you should be working with me because this is why you're not getting girls. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah. So he
Now,
grew
yeah.
to be, he has grown to be extremely fond of it. Well,
Yeah.
now it's a very large company, so he's very fond of it now. But in the beginning, it was a tough transition at first,
Yeah.
but then he loves it. And he's like really proud that I do this work.
I love that. That's amazing. We love a supportive partner.
Yeah.
I'm so curious to know, like, how did doing that work translate into like what you learned and to understand about men? How did that serve you as you started dating your now
Oh
husband?
my God, because I understood men. I had all these beliefs about men before that I didn't know. And I didn't even like know that it was shifting me, but just opening my ears and hearing so many men's stories, first of all, about how crappy women have been to them.
Yeah.
My mind was blown by that,
Hmm.
to be honest. But more so it was about seeing that men had these difficulties. Like in my eyes, in my mind, men were confident, could approach anybody. They were, tough as nails. You could say anything to them and they wouldn't cry about like that was my vision of them. And then
Yeah.
I would get to hear all these stories about men being really real. And I'd be like, oh God, I have been a horrible bitch to so many men.
Yeah.
And I noticed that even I remember like 3 years after starting my company, I don't know if you know anything about the pickup artist industry, but
Yep. Oh
okay,
yeah.
so yeah, okay. So we've been in this for 10 years, so you should know. But like Neil Strauss, who wrote the book The Game,
Yep.
I did a couple of events where he would hire 10, I think I had 20 wing girls at one point at his events where he would hire my wing girls after a day of coaching with him. And the wing
Hmm.
girls would go out with them and they would do what I was just talking about, like go and pick up women for them and just like watch their interactions. And at the end of the night, the wing girls and myself would always meet up and like break down what we saw from these guys. And I just remember all of them were just so surprised by what men have to deal with.
Yeah.
And a couple of them were crying and saying, "Oh God, I've been so horrible to men. I've been so bitchy. I made it so hard for them. I didn't realize that these are the things going on inside of their head.
Yeah.
They only know like the jerks. They only know the guys who have hurt them, right? So
Hmm.
they put their tough walls up. They don't know the other side of these really good men who just want to get a girlfriend or want to have fun, right? Who
Yeah.
want to actually be good men. So it's helped in that area for sure. And then the other area that it's helped in, and this happened pretty quickly without me even realizing it, but I used to give the same typical advice to my
Yeah.
female friends that most women do. Like, oh, he doesn't deserve you. He's this, he's this, he's this, like jumping right away to blame the man.
Yep.
And then my advice started to shift to, oh, that's not how men work. No, you got to stop doing that because you're pushing him away.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I know. Like you have the same experiences. So like you completely understand. But it is crazy to open your eyes to these things. And it's very parallel to everything that's happening in the United States and the world right now
Yeah.
because there are these two large sides that just
Yep.
do not understand each other. And the more that you're like, oh, well, let me just hear what you're actually having to say, because you're not saying something so horrible. You're just saying something that doesn't sound good to me. Therefore,
Yeah.
I'm going to put a block up against it. But if I actually listen, I can hear your pain. I can hear your fear. I can hear your struggle. Oh, I can get what you're saying. And
Hmm.
it's the same for men and women, or men and women, whatever people choose to do, but
Yeah.
especially for men and women.
It's I love that you bring that up because that there's something that I want to talk to you about relating to that, but I do want to say, so it sounds like, working with men, it allowed you to develop a lot more like compassion and understanding for men, but also, you know, see like kind of, because I feel like that old school mentality where it's like you deserve better, girl, like fuck him, right?
Yeah.
It's
No,
very
fuck you. You're a bitch. Yeah.
it's very like victim-y, right? It's very like
Yeah.
victim mentality and doesn't reflect like the nuance and the complexities of like working with other and interacting,
Yeah.
because relationships are about connection, right? And so it's
It's
like,
not helpful.
yep. So if it's like I'm right, you're wrong, I'm good, you're bad, like there's no self-reflection happening, and there's no, and it's like women that get stuck in that mentality often find themselves getting pretty like bitter in my experience, where it's
Yeah.
like they're like, oh, like I'm just so done with dating and like men suck, and they're like, waiting for a man to break down that mentality for them while at the same time putting out like a vibe and an energy and behavior
Yeah.
that pushes those men away.
Yes.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Which is like, I'm like, you're never going to pull a good man in because a good man's not going to stick around for you. And
Yeah.
it's not his job to knock your walls down.
Yep. Amen. Well said.
Mhm.
So you touched on politics, and like something that I have seen come up a lot with my clients who are single and dating is like really navigating the touchy subjects of politics in early dating. And just like, I have clients all over the map politically, but some clients are like, if he voted, my a hard line for me is like, if he voted for Donald Trump the second time, like I'm not going to date him, and like finding them having these really crunchy conversations at times. So like when it comes to politics. So what would your advice be to men like when it comes to like trying to date a woman that is politically very different than them, or like approaching those kinds of conversations?
I think it comes down to values. Like there's always this umbrella statement of I voted for this person. Okay,
Mhm.
but how voted for this person did you really vote for this person? Are
Right.
you this or are you this? So I think it's like, yes, it can always be a small red flag,
Yeah.
100%. But I think you can explore further, not meaning to have a further political debate, but you can explore further to seeing what their values are and really identifying your own values of what's important, right? So if you
Hmm.
think that voting for Kamala Harris or voted for Trump like stands for certain values, take those values that they think that they stand for and then ask some questions, bring up some topics, not necessarily about politics, but
Hmm.
bring up about family values, bring about the way that you treat your mother, bring up the way that you see women interacting in the world, talk about how important